All right, everyone. I gave it the big spiel yesterday about Celtic and Crvena Zvezda being incredibly well matched in terms of like domestic dominance and not quite making the big steps in Europe. So it was only natural that it would finish a draw last night. A 1-1 draw, as some guy predicted on here yesterday. Seems to know his stuff. And I think tonight will be a draw. I think it will finish Crvena Zvezda 1, Celtic 1. But yeah, good result for Celtic that could have been even better. And Paul, Perth Paul, as he's been christened by me again. It's all about me, is on today. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Hamish, good to be on again.
Kind of good point you would have to suggest that could have been even better. How are you feeling a few hours on from the match?
Yeah, I'm probably a bit more realistic now than I was in the immediate aftermath of the match. I guess, overarching feeling then, and there's still a little bit of that, was disappointment. I think bit of disappointment in terms of overall performance. Game was very patchy. First half particularly poor, and then I guess there was chances to push on and try and win the game. But having sort of had a couple hours kip, which we were talking about just before we came on air, and then back up, it was this 3 a.m. kickoff for me, and I think 5-ish for you. Yeah, I had a chance to watch the sort of highlights again, and yeah, I think it's one of those. It's a good point. We have taken a point probably before the game. And on the balance of chances, they blew a lot. We blew a couple of chances, but they missed a lot of chances. So I think on the night, you got to be happy with a point. But I think if we take a step back, if we were more prepared, if we've got a bit more strength and depth, we're a bit more up and running in Europe, I think that's a team that we could beat or should beat maybe. But yeah, they started the season strongly, and that's the first time they've not won at home all season. So yeah, I think you kind of take it in the end.
It's funny because, yeah, you're right, when the full-time whistle goes, and I remember the same feeling last year against Zagreb, and maybe even Atalanta to an extent, although probably not quite, but whenever you draw a game and you're a Celtic fan, you're used to winning matches, and even though it's like a decent point away from home in Europe, and these are the kind of matches, I do think a number of years ago we might well have lost. You still always just want that wee bit more, but and I definitely feel like that as well, especially when you take the lead and you do have a number of really good chances. But also, you know, they were the ones kind of pressing late on, and there was a couple of kind of hairy moments in the box. So I think we'll take the point. But listen, we'll get into the game in full. First of all, big thanks to Practical CBT for sponsoring this show. If you're a guy looking to get your head in a better place, just like you train on the pitch, they've got 10-minute online workouts and coaching sessions that can make a real difference. And as a Celtic AM viewer or listener, you can get up to 33% off. So please check them out. Click the link in the description. So starting lineup, Paul, we had, I think, was it one change from Thistle?
Yeah, I think just Maeda, wasn't it?
Schmeichel, Donovan, Carter Vickers, Scales, Tierney. I don't even need to read out the midfield three because they always play. Yang, Tenekti, Maeda.
2 changes, yes, because the goalkeeper's back changed. And
yes.
Maeda as well. But yeah, I think pretty expected lineup, I would say. I think most people expected Maeda to come back in for his kind of pressing and defensive qualities, although not a great night for him. But yeah, other than that, I think given where we're at the minute, the team sort of picked itself.
Let's tackle the Daizen stuff then, because he did struggle to link the play. I just thought his positioning was like massively off tonight. He just kept being offside. He was offside a number of times in the first half, but even times that the ball wasn't getting to him, he was just standing in the wrong place. There are some comments from Brendan Rodgers after the game, not lambasting Daizen in any way, but I think making it clear that Daizen's performance wasn't at the level that we need at this level in Europe. He said, "We needed someone centrally to hold the ball up. I felt that we arrived into the final third in the first half and we were either loose with the ball or didn't hold the ball up. He wasn't at his best or nowhere near it. However, he's a good guy and sometimes that happens in the game. I could have made a couple of changes at half time." What were your thoughts on kind of Daizen and maybe what went wrong as a team in that first half?
Yeah, he definitely was off it. His pressing was decent. I wouldn't say it was at his absolute peak. He nearly nicked one off the keeper very early on, but I just felt like he never really found his way in the game at all. And like you say, he was offside continuously. A lot of times, just quite lazily as well. Like he was a good yard or two behind the line, and with his pace, he never needs to even be on the edge of the line. He can be onside and running away from defenders. And yeah, I don't know. He looked like he maybe was. I wouldn't say he didn't want to show up or he didn't want to do his best work. Or I've seen a lot of comments already on social media, classic backlash, in a half, down in tools. I don't think he's that kind of player. And I've said that elsewhere. And I sort of stood up for him. And then he scored against Kilmarnock, and the way his reaction was amazing. He looked like he wanted to play for the team and the jersey and the fans. You can have an off night, but he was well off it, absolutely well off it. And the change in the team was sort of night and day when Iheanacho came on. So I think maybe his starting position wasn't great, but we didn't really look to find him in behind. Like I think if you've got to either get the ball quickly out wide and whip it in and get him in front of his defenders, or to be playing him, kind of slipping him in from an angle as wingers cutting in and sliding it in behind and into the central area so he can run in behind and try and get on the end of something. And we never really kind of gave him that opportunity. We were playing to him like we would want to play to Iheanacho, which is to try and get him to drop deep and link the play. And that's not his game, just the same as it wasn't Adam Ida's game. You've got to play at the strengths of the guys you've got there. And he's got lots of strengths. We know about it, but he's looking like a kind of almost night and day different player from this season to last season.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because any kind of poor performance he has, there's going to be those questions about, has he chucked it? And I guess part of that comes from the comments he made in Japan. He made it clear that he wanted to leave Celtic. So I guess he's kind of put himself open to that accusation, even though he's not necessarily that type of player. I just wonder if that same edge is there, because he just didn't seem to, as you say, have the right positioning and attitude tonight at times. I also wonder if that right wing berth might be his kind of best one at the moment. I know that's a kind of weird one to say, given that he mainly played off the left, but he did play on the right a bit under Ange Postecoglou. And if we see Iheanacho kind of starting to get better and better, and we'll come on to him, and we do clearly have a weakness on that right. Yang played there again and did absolutely nothing in the game. I just wonder if Daizen off the right might be an option, but even when I'm saying that, it's really kind of doubting myself. But we're in this position where we don't really have a right winger.
I think a lot of the support are thinking the same way. You've got a player, if he's firing is absolute quality. We've clearly overloaded on left wingers because we thought he was going. Obviously, you're right. He made the comments in Japan, but since then, obviously that's been backed up. I think Callum McGregor was in an interview and said his locker was empty and nobody expected him back, but they were great to have him back. So, it's been really explicit in terms of the fact that everyone thought he was gone, and it's going to take the player a bit to get that out of his mindset. And really, if that's where we were at. Again, it shows the shambles in behind the scenes in terms of managing transfers, etc. We don't have to waste more time on that now, but we know all about that. And then you're also looking at sort of what's going to happen in January, because if he's nearly out the door now, I think he's only got, by January, he'll have 18 months left of his contract, I think. So it's really, if you're going to get any good return on him, and his values potentially diminish as we go because his performances have dipped, then you probably, and we've already covered for him leaving because we've got all the left wingers with both Tenekdi and Balikwisha, both left wingers. It's clear that's the case. So he's already almost replaced. We need to obviously look at the other side and get another body in the middle if he does go. But I think he's probably further off in January. So that's the case. Then there's going to be a natural sort of, even if it's subconscious, of protecting himself so that, he gets that move that he didn't get when he wanted it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but it was an off night, and we're going to see Daizen again. There's a fair chance that he plays at some stage on Saturday. I don't know if he'll start the game, to be honest, because I thought Kelechi Iheanacho made a big difference when he came on. You see that in the finish for the goal. Like, I was thinking, and probably a lot of other people were thinking the same thing. What does Adam Ida do when he gets into that position? What does Daizen even do when he gets into that position? It was like a real kind of calmness to his finishing, like a classy finish. I thought it's great play from Nygren, first of all, who again I thought did some really good things and a couple of kind of not so good things, but he I thought had a relatively good game, Nygren. But he gets his head up, picks him out, exactly what we want to see him doing, and there was just no real doubt about it at all. I think I just felt that Iheanacho was going to tuck that away. And as I say, that was a real kind of classy European level finish, the kind of finish, Kyogo would come up with, or Odsonne Edouard would come up with. And I thought he had a number of other really good touches as well, kind of nice bits of build-up play where, as you say, the ball goes into him and it sticks. And that was a big problem in the first half with Daizen. It was a big problem with Adam Ida. It was arguably even a big problem with Kyogo this time last year, and he wasn't holding in the ball so well. So he's not done anything spectacular yet, but a couple of goals so far. I think we're all feeling a bit better about Iheanacho than we were when he signed.
Yeah, no, I think that he's clearly got talent. He's clearly been a good player in the past. I think the frustration is not less with the player and more with the process. And the fact that he bear in mind, he was a free agent by the time we picked him up, and we were actually outside the window before we were getting a striker in. So, and we'd already let Adam Ida go. So I think a lot of the frustrations around, how sort of poorly managed that all was. But yeah, and he's obviously, he's had limited game time and limited successful game time in the last sort of couple of years. But he's clearly a player at City. He's still pretty young. So yeah, it was probably hope more than optimism, but certainly in the sort of 3 cameos he's made so far, there's enough there to say that once he's up and running and gets to know his teammates better and a bit more fitness, he can really contribute. I guess the concern is, what's the covering behind like? Because as we say, obviously Maira's not really been on it. Johnny Kenny doesn't look like he's trusted, even though he was in the squad because we can have the bigger numbers last night. It's definitely an area I think they need strengthening in January again.
Yeah, Yamada, don't even,
I don't know where he is.
Hear or see him. He's obviously not in the Europa League. Just a very quick side point, I was going to say this later, but Callum Osmond and Hayato Inamura played for the B team last night. While all this was going on, they lost to Edinburgh City. Osmond actually scored our opener in the first half, so 2 summer signings, and that's how far away they are from things. While we were playing in Belgrade, they were playing against Edinburgh City. So yeah, Iheanacho, I thought he added a bit to our game. We had a number of chances at the start of that second half, didn't we? Like, after creating very little in the first half. That Nygren one for me, got to score that. Like, he's running onto it for ages. It reminded me of a few we had in Almaty. Do you remember, like, as the game went on in Almaty, we had a number of clear-cut chances. Luke McCowan, I think Engels possibly had one, maybe Nygren himself, and they were kind of tame efforts, and I felt that was a tame effort again from Nygren. It's like, go and smash that, have a bit of conviction. We actually, we create chances in these games away from home. Think back, Zagreb was a bit like that. Bayern Munich, the amount of chances we had in that first half, we're not clinical enough away from home in Europe, but if we can get to that point, then, we can be even better.
Yeah, I agree with you. Nygren has got to score that. It's really well crafted. Scales with a nice chip over the top, perfect for Kieran Tierney. He runs onto it, and KT using his nous. He gets his head up. He takes his time. He picks Nygren out absolutely brilliantly, and he's got so much space on the edge of the box. And it's a tame effort. It's pretty much straight at the keeper. Obviously it's slightly inside, but it's a great height, and it's pretty much in the middle of the goal. He's got to be ripping that into the top corner and really, making it count. It's as good a chance as I think we created all night. It's almost better than the chance that Iheanacho scores from.
That is, yeah.
I just think it's pretty. Yeah, it was a real gilt-edged chance, and yeah, he created Iheanacho's goal afterwards. But I thought it was, you touched on it earlier, I thought it was a pretty patchy performance from Benjamin Nygren again. I know a lot of people have been impressed with him, and it is early days. I want to give him a chance, but I feel like he's kind of lucky to hang on to the jersey as long as he has. Yeah, he's had some assists, and I just think overall he's not doing enough. Like when he gets the ball in that area where he's set up Iheanacho's goal, that's great. That's what we want to see him doing, running into space and linking the play. But I think a lot of the time he gets kind of lost in midfield. He's a bit one-paced. He got robbed a couple of times where he didn't have the awareness. He got clattered.
He did fight back a couple of times in the first. I agree with you, but there was a couple of times as well, kind of far right corner, where he kind of won the ball back a few times. So I think he did offer a wee bit, but I do agree with you. I think, he also had some kind of tough moments.
Yeah, I think even first half, like there was a couple of misplaced passes in dangerous areas. I think some of their early chances came from both, I think him, McGregor. Yang will get the blame for it because he lost the ball, but Callum McGregor's playing him a absolute hospital pass with his back to goal, and he gets robbed. And obviously their chances, that's a big chance that it hits the bar. I don't know what you thought. I thought Casper maybe got just as faintest of fingertips to that. The one that hit the bar, I saw a few angles, maybe, but it's just both Nygren and Cal McGregor a bit slack around the box and giving them opportunities. I think Hatate was pretty much anonymous again. So he looked a bit more energetic against Thistle, and obviously it's only Thistle, but he looked good on the weekend, and a bit more forward running and dynamism, but disappointing again last night.
Yeah, I mean, Hatate for me would be the one of the three that I'd be pretty critical of. I think when Brendan Rodgers is talking about being able to take, I think, a number of players off at half-time, Hatate for me was one I kind of had a feeling might not come out for the second half, because I just thought he was incredibly slack on a number of occasions. Really frustrating stuff. And you see Brendan Rodgers on the touchline, getting pretty animated and frustrated when Rio was doing that. So yeah, I mean, I thought Cal McGregor was the best of the three, but I feel like it's not saying too much at the moment. I think you need to credit Nygren for setting up the goal. That was a class bit of play, and it shows what he can do, and he's had good moments for us so far. We just need to see more of it. But like, to be fair, I was the one kind of thinking Arnie Engels might start the game, and we've been calling out for Engels for a while. I thought Engels came on and just looked pretty poor as well. Like, he had a moment late on where he can slip in Iheanacho possibly, or the left winger, I can't remember, right, basically on full time, and it's a relatively straightforward pass, and he underhits it, and the defender gets it, and then I think 5 seconds later, there's a kind of bouncing ball in the middle of the park, and he's just so slow, and the Red Star player beats him to it. And I'm thinking, you've got to come into a game, you've not been starting for us, you have got to shine to get your place back. And you can have the debate over whether, guys like Nygren and Hatate should still be starting for us, and think that's a proper debate to have. But when you see guys like Engels coming on and not necessarily doing it, you do kind of question, how do we sort that midfield? Because Paulo Bernardo isn't fancied, Luke McCowan isn't fancied in European matches, really. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of, criticism of various parts. There was lots to be positive about, I thought, as well, Paul, and I know you'll agree. I thought Kieran Tierney had a good game, a couple of really good moments running up that left wing. As you called the cutback a minute ago, there was another one in the first half where he gets the byline. Was it the first half? And he should probably cut it back to Tenekte. I thought Tenekte, while he was a bit quieter, still looked, lively enough. Liam Scales was excellent, I thought, defending, obviously. And Colby Donovan was probably man of the match.
Yeah, I think the high spot is probably Colby Donovan, and he just seems to go from strength to strength. Almost a bit of an accident he's still around, to be honest. Like, there was, if it wasn't for AJ's injury, I think he was going out on loan. So again, one of these happy accidents.
Is it Dundee? I think let's talk about Dundee.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, one of these happy accidents. But he's, you're right about somebody like Engels. I'm a big fan of him. but he's got to take those opportunities, however brief they are. And I agree with you. I thought he was pretty anonymous when he came on, and you'd expect more from him, really to be sort of ramped up to try and stamp his authority on the game and win his place back. But yeah, Colby Donovan did everything you would want of a young player. Putting to shame some of his more senior teammates and more expensive signing teammates. Great attitude. The manager praised that in his post-match interview. So it says he trains like he plays. And yeah, great engine up and down, brave on the ball, happy to take it. You know, quite a few times, especially the second half, he'd be past the ball from Carter Vickers, and he'd sort of take a man on, drive inside, and then play a forward pass. Even just the fact he's playing forward passes it sounds kind of obvious, but we're not everyone in the team wants to do that or is doing that regularly. It's just playing with a lack of kind of fear or concern, and you get that in young players. But yeah, brilliant for him, brilliant for the team, brilliant for fans to see sort of a kid that's come through the youth system. It doesn't happen very, very often these days, unfortunately. So yeah, I think he's more than pushed himself past Tony Ralston, who's been a great servant, and there's still probably a need for him, especially until Alistair Johnston's back. But yeah, I think long may it continue.
Yeah, I think it was a huge night for him. Brendan picking him over Ralston, who I know has had coming back from an injury, but I think that was great faith shown by the manager, and it just proves it. I think if you give these guys opportunities, this is a guy who was playing in the B team last season or certainly the year before. I don't think he was particularly standing out in the B team as being someone you would talk about as being an absolute star. The stars have aligned and he's taken his opportunity, and I think there's no doubt that until Alistair Johnston comes back, he should be our starting right back. And I think when Johnston comes back, we should still see lots of Colby Donovan, because that was a huge night. That was a tough away game, really tough environment, a good team. Thought a wee bit early on in the game, the left winger was giving him a bit of a hard time, but as the game went on, he really grew into it. But I thought that his play in possession was good at all points of the game. Brendan Rodgers, talking about him, says, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I said to all the players after, I thought he was incredible in the game for a young player, making his 4th or 5th start for us. To play to that level in such a tough stadium, to come and play in, he's just turned 19. He's just got personality. It's the big thing. He's not frightened of anything. He goes into the game, he takes the ball, he passes the ball forward, he runs forward, he's aggressive, he stops crosses, and that's how he trains. He trains to that level every day. That entire quote could probably and was probably said about Kieran Tierney a number of years ago, and I think there's real similarities there. I'm not saying he'll be as good as Tierney, by the way. Can I just say I'm not guaranteeing we're getting 25 million for Colby, but I think in terms of the way they play, there's similarities there.
There is, I would say, obviously he's a couple of years older when he's broken into the team. Obviously KT was in at 17. The thing I really like about him, as well as all those things the manager said and we've discussed already, is his physicality. He's a 19-year-old kid who looks like a proper man, proper footballer, which a lot of the time you get these young kids breaking into the team and the physique's not there. They've obviously got talent, but they aren't necessarily ready. And we all know the modern game's even more physical than it probably has ever been. I speak to my brother who's a professional coach, and he's said for a decade plus, it's not the best players that make it in the professional game these days. It's the ones that are the fittest and the hardest working, and yeah, they can tidy up some of their skill set as they go. But if they're big, physical, athletic specimens, then they've got probably a better chance than anyone of making the grade with the right attitude. So yeah, no, he definitely looks like he could be around for a while. And again, without sort of jumping the gun and getting players sold, Alistair Johnston isn't going to be around forever, is he? So, there is an opportunity here we're going to have to rotate the squad, like you say, because 2 games a week now till the new year. So he'll definitely get game time even when AJ's back. It also, his performances also mean we don't have to rush AJ back. We can let him come in as a sub and build up some fitness, and that maybe hasn't always been the case. We've probably always wanted him back in the team if Tony Ralston's been holding the jersey. So I think you've got a real opportunity to sort of, rotate team and give him the game time that will keep him happy. And ultimately, I think there's probably an opportunity for him to be the succession planning at right back whenever that is, whether it's a season or two down the line.
Okay, a big shout out to NordVPN, the quickest way to stay safe and connected wherever you're watching Celtic. Celtic kicked off their Europa League campaign with a hard-fought draw against Crvena Zvezda, a point on the road and plenty still to play for. Just like with NordVPN, it's all about being secure away from home. I like that one, Paul. Genius, isn't it? Definitely not me who wrote that. nordvpn.com/CelticAM, everyone. Europa League situation, 9th in the table. Paul, 1 point, probably needing 11 points for top 24, potentially 15 points for top 8. Obviously, might not work out that exact way, but that's just for your rough calculations. So we actually play next week, so not much of a rest. Braga at home at Celtic Park. We then play Sturm Graz at Celtic Park, and then a trip to Michelin. So I'm looking at these next 3 games as ones where we have to pick up some points, because after that you've got Feyenoord away, Roma at home, Bologna away, and we finish with Utrecht. But certainly the run of Feyenoord, Roma, Bologna, I think it might be tough to pick up lots of points in there. So your next 3 games, but having said that, Michelin won tonight. I think they beat Sturm Graz 2-0, and Braga won as well. Yeah, Braga beat Feyenoord, so that that's
2-1 away teams. I think. Yeah, so I think yeah, you're right. I reckon if we get 7 points out of the next 3 games, that'd be a decent return. But in an ideal world, you take more than that. But yeah, home games are going to help. Albeit that it's interesting how much what the crowd makeup is in those matches. I think a lot of the tickets that went on general sale that weren't taken up by season ticket holders have already sold, so they'll be fully they'll probably almost certainly be full house for the game. So hopefully that will produce good performances. Yeah.
So that should be good. Big game next week. I guess it's a game that we have to go and win, but if we do, 4 points from the first 2 matches would be really positive. Also, just finally got Hibs on Saturday. Tomorrow's video is something a little bit different, just away from the kind of matches. So just very briefly, thoughts on Hibs. That's going to be a challenge, but they're not doing too well. I watched a bit of them against Falkirk the other night, and they're struggling a bit as well. So we'll probably see a few changes, and obviously back at Celtic Park as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost the off-field stuff's going to be more interested about this match than the actual game itself. I think the game will probably take care of itself. As you say, Hibs have been a bit patchy. And the one thing I've noticed, I've not watched a lot of what they've been up to or even followed it much, but what I have noticed is that they're leaking goals pretty badly.
Yeah.
So we sort of found a bit of form in terms of finding the back of the net, and they're leaking goals. So you would think there'll be a good opportunity there, especially at home, to score a few, and that should be enough to probably get us over the line. But yeah, I think the whatever is lined up for fan protest, first opportunity, I guess, since this all kicked off, to make the board aware of what's of how people are feeling in a home match. So yeah, I think that will grab the majority of the early headlines. But yeah, hopefully the team will. You're right. I think I expect a little bit of rotation. Obviously, it's been a hard game to last night, and obviously the travel. But yeah, I expect us, given Hibs' form, I expect us to come through relatively comfortably.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the stands on Saturday. I'm guessing there'll be some sort of action, and we'll find out about that today. But that's going to, as you say, going to be an interesting element of Saturday's game. And obviously the game itself, Celtic Hibs matches are usually pretty good. And yeah, as I say, something a little bit different tomorrow. And then I'll speak to you properly on Sunday morning after the game. But for now, Paul, we'll say goodbye. Thanks very much for coming on, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, Hamish. Good to be on.
Cheers, everyone, for watching. Speak to you soon.